wonderful gargoyles at Notre-Dame, and some music as well. Notre-Dame is a spiritual and historical landmark in France, and like most churches, music is an integral part of it. And now, for the first time in 800 years, a Canadian is in charge of shaping the music at Notre-Dame.
His name is Michel Marc Gervais, and he joins us now from Paris. Hi, how are you?
Thank you, I'm very fine.
Now, how did a Canadian and a layman at that manage to get such a wonderful job?
Well, it's, I guess, a question of circumstance and through an international competition that was set up for this whole new project at Notre-Dame. I was chosen in one of, I guess, the lucky one.
When was the first time you ever went to Notre-Dame in Paris? Do you remember?
Oh my gosh, that was a very long time ago, when I was 16 years old.
And what did you think of it then?
Well, I was in awe, of course. I mean, it was also my very first time in Europe. And I mean, to come from Canada and also from a very small town of 800 people in northern Alberta, and suddenly to arrive in France, Paris, the very first city, and to arrive at Notre-Dame, of course, I mean, you can't help but being overwhelmed.
Did you ever think that you'd have a job as a choral master in Notre-Dame when you...
Good heavens, no. Never, never in my wildest dreams. I mean, the same as 3 years ago when I started in Versailles in connection with the chateau. It was the same thing. I mean, and even when I was in Versailles, I would never, never have thought Notre-Dame de Paris. You
know, it's an amazing thing. You're part of such an incredibly historic place for the French people. Do you feel any kind of responsibility or any kind of, I don't know, perhaps defensiveness that you're not French, but you're Canadian, that, you know, do you have to sort of defend your position in that situation?
Yes, I think it's not so much a responsibility as a Canadian or fear that, well, here I am as a North American, not without a European background, but the sense of responsibility, absolutely, because, I mean, you have this building which has a history of 8 centuries. So many things have happened. Just to come up the stairs to do this interview on this terrace at the cathedral, when you know that you come up this tower to this place where we are now, when you know all the very important composers who have walked these stairs, and you see, I mean, the stairs are old, and the sense of responsibility when you know what has happened before, and you have to keep on building for the future, because that's what everyone did. It is a very big responsibility.
And I guess there's something about what you're doing in terms of the music and the place that you're in. It was a time, it seems, where the greater glory of God was what people worked for, and it pushed them to heights that we find still to this day inspiring and incredible. Is that feeling something you have to reinstill into the choral traditions of that place, or are you just maintaining what has always been?
The aim is to render to this place a musical dimension which is at the same level or on par with the historic site. It's, as I was saying, it's a place that belongs to the world. It is world famous. It has had a very strong influence throughout the entire history of Western music. And today, the Cardinal would like for the music to really be on the same level. And so it means creating, or recreating, I should say, the whole school of Notre-Dame, as we've known it through the medieval ages. Not necessarily to recreate the same institution, but with the same foundation.
So you'll have choirs for children, choirs for teenage soloists?
It will mean at least 6 or 7 instruments. That is for a choir school for young boys, also activities for girls, vocal activities for adolescents, which is very important. Also a whole school of training for young adults.
Are there going to be more recordings from Notre-Dame now, like the ones we hear from King's College Choir in England, for instance?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, of course, that's something that is very natural. The international dimension to the whole project is very, very important. We hope that we will be able to see at Notre-Dame an entire artist-in-residence program. That is where you have famous singers, very well-known singers who are recording, who will have a regular presence at Notre-Dame.
I guess you didn't miss Canada too much, or you don't miss it right now, considering what a wonderful task you have.
Well, you know, it's a double-edged thing. I mean, of course, I miss my friends, my family. I spent many years of my life in Canada, and I feel a very strong allegiance in the sense of responsibility for the vocal and choral scene when I was working in Canada. But, well, times have changed in Canada, and for me, as many Canadians, as a matter of fact, it was obvious that it was necessary to come to Europe.
You couldn't have done what you wanted to do if you'd stayed in Canada?
No, that is especially in the present climate. As you know, there is a very important exodus of Canadian artists at the moment, and it's very unfortunate. But, and I must say, at this point in time, even I have a part to play in that, in the sense that in order to save the artistic lives of future, that is, of young artists, I myself I have to admit, am bringing artists out of Canada to Europe, because it's a very, very tough situation, as you know, and I think a very unfortunate one, because Canada is really losing many of its human resources simply because it's not important at the moment. And that's the reality of it. And until people realize the importance of its human resources and what we can do, I mean, that's how countries are built, that's how history is made. On the one hand, we have in Europe the weight of history, which can be difficult to deal with, but we also have the richness of that history and of the whole aspect of memory. It's something we lacked in Canada, and I don't think we understand what a culture really is. We wonder what being Canadian is all about, and I don't think we've realized that being Canadian is its people. That's what it is.
Well, interesting thoughts. We're sorry that you're in Paris and not here, but nonetheless, it sounds like there'll be wonderful work to do, and we wish you luck in doing it.
Thank you very, very much.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's hear a little more music here from the choir organ of the Cathedral of Notre-Dame de Paris.